Keep yourself in the loop of everything football. Listen to Alex and Jeremiah on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello there, I'm Jeremiah.
I am Alex, always and forever here.
Dedicated to college and NFL football. The latest football news on and off the field. NFL draft trade rumors. We've got you covered from the NFL, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything else in between. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we'll discuss the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football. From the latest signings to this breakout stars and all the news in between, as always, I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Anthony.
And happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Wednesday. It's hump day. It's some people's favorite day of the week. Hump day.
Hump day?
I loved that commercial.
Yeah,
Such a good commercial.
I am a huge fan of that commercial. Like, if I could just watch that commercial every time commercials come on, I'm good.
I just like the way the camel walks through the office like, guess what day it is?
Okay, Karen, guess what day it is? And like,
is.
nobody answers him. He goes, oh, come on, I know you can hear me.
I know you can hear me.
Hump
guess what day it is?
I love that commercial. Bring it back.
I know, bring it back. Come on. I know, then they got that iced tea commercial now on Geico when they have the lemonade stand.
Yeah, it's lemonade.
It's lemonade.
What's wrong with these people, man?
It's lemonade.
Yeah, I like that too. Jeremiah, you know what else I like? I like football.
Yeah, I do too.
And we're going to talk about football.
That's why we do this show.
That's very true. What are we talking about today when it comes to football?
Football.
Oh, just football.
Yeah. Well, I mean today specifically.
Yes, today specifically.
Okay, we're talking about the college football playoff rankings.
There it is.
There you go.
All right, so we had the college football rankings come out. Alabama, still number one. Clearly number one. They're going to be number one for the rest of the year, assuming they win out. Michigan, Ohio State, and Clemson rank out the top four.
Now, Jeremiah, what was your guess?
My guess was Alabama, Ohio State.
Clemson?
I think I had Louisville at 3 and in Michigan.
Oh, yeah, you know what? That's what it was because you and I said the same thing.
Yeah, we didn't
So
have,
you couldn't tie me.
Yeah.
So we were both wrong.
So, yeah, we didn't have Clemson in the top 4.
I moved to 2-1. Jeremiah is now 1-1? 2-2.
1 and...
Was this the third? You're 1-2.
1 and 2.
And I am 2-1.
All right.
Living the life. Living La Vida Loca. Yeah, we talked about this on the sports show. Not surprised by Bama. Not surprised by Ohio State. Surprised that Michigan didn't move at all. And the fact that Clemson dropped 2, makes sense. But I would have expected Clemson to drop 2, maybe Michigan drop at least 1. That wouldn't shake out, so one of those would have to drop another one. And then, I expected Louisville to be up there. Now, I posed this question to you because I posed the same question to them. You have Penn State. Penn State beat Ohio State head-to-head. If Ohio State goes on to beat Michigan, Penn State more than likely would play for the Big Ten championship. Do you not put them in if they literally have beaten Ohio State head-to-head and win their conference championship? Do you still put Ohio State in instead of Penn State? Regardless of, yes, they're probably the better team. Do you still do that, though? And where do you think that would sit with people? Because I feel like there'd be a lot of upset people.
There will be a lot of upset people that happen, and it's something people haven't talked about. It's something you have to consider doing if Penn State happens to win the Big Ten. I'm actually really surprised that Louisville is not in the top 4, though. I really thought they deserved to be in. They look like one of the top college football teams all year long. I really thought Louisville, as the number 4 team, can pretty much give Alabama all they can handle on offense there. But going back to Penn State, it's going to be hard putting them in that top 4. But I do think they will earn some consideration at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think it'll be a situation where they might be like one of the first out because I feel like if they keep winning, they'll pass Wisconsin. I'm sorry, Wisconsin. We keep kind of dumping on you, but like you guys are good.
Yeah, but Penn State, I think. Oh man, ever since that Ohio State win, they've been on fire. They've been dominating every game.
And then we look at, the Big Ten obviously is the strongest, conference probably in football this year. You have so many teams in the top of the conference, and then I mentioned on the sports show also. Then probably after that, it's probably the Pac-12 with you have Washington, Colorado, Utah, USC. You have Washington State at 22, and then you have Stanford back in the countdown at 24. So in terms of strength, SEC it's Bama, and then who? The Big Ten obviously has so many representatives, and then you have the Pac-12, and then everybody else is kind of mix and match from there. So the Big Ten obviously is a very, very strong represented, conference in the rankings, and you're going to have at least one would assume you would have to have the champion of that. You're not going to have Ohio State and Michigan. One of them is going to lose, and I don't see them putting a 2-loss team in the top 4. So that means it's going to open the door for somebody, whether that's Wisconsin or Penn State or, a dark horse team that none of us are expecting. Who knows? But Wisconsin obviously has 2 losses. I don't see them putting them in the countdown unless something crazy happens, So it'll be interesting to see what exactly goes on.
Yeah, so whenever that Ohio State, Michigan, Ohio State game happens, so pretty much those teams are going to pretty much play for the playoffs.
Yeah, pretty much what they're doing is win and play a bowl game, or lose and play a bowl game, win and get a chance to play for the national championship. What do you think, Mr. Anthony?
So you talk about the weird scenario that could happen with Penn State, because Penn State's only loss, or one of the 2 losses, was against Michigan, and now you get something where Michigan, they lost to kind of a weird random team in Iowa. You get Ohio State, who's had a pretty good year, even though they had the 1 loss, to Penn State. It's kind of a weird jumble of all the teams. Then you also get Nebraska out there, Wisconsin, who's been a really good team all year. They just had a brutal stretch at one point when, 4 out of 5 weeks they were facing a top 10 at the time ranked team, be it Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, or Nebraska. Wisconsin's probably looked the best out of all of them because the 2 games that they lost by a total of 14 points. They lost to Michigan on that really insane interception. And then Ohio State, they barely lost 30-23. If they could somehow win the Pac-10 or the Big Ten, then I think they get at least consideration for it, because it all depends on how the committee wants to basically slowly build the team up, right? Mm-hmm. Because basically you have, Wisconsin and Nebraska both at 8-2 and 5-2. If for whatever reason Nebraska slips up over the next 2 weeks, if they lose to either Maryland or Iowa, then that'll give a good chance to Wisconsin if they can win the Big Ten. You look at the way the whole thing is shaken out right now. If they slowly kind of creep up every single week, just a little bit, then I think we as a kind of collective are okay with them maybe being in the top 4, because if a team goes from 10 to 4, we're like, oh no, that's not how that's supposed to work. But if you kind of slowly move up the rank every week, and we're like, oh, they moved from 10 to 8, oh, they moved from 8 to 6. Wisconsin right now is technically 7th. If they next week, win a game and they go up to say 5th, then it wouldn't make that much. It wouldn't be that weird to us if they ended up moving into the top 4, because like you said, Ohio State, Michigan, one of them is going to lose and probably not be in the top 4, because I can't see a team not winning their conference being that in that position, even if it is Ohio State and Michigan. And then Clemson and Louisville, you're going to have one of them, because you're not going to have 2 ACC schools be in there, because one of them obviously is not going to win the conference. I can see Wisconsin being the team that kind of sneaks in there also.
Okay, so you're saying there's a chance for Washington to climb back?
Oh, that's a tough chance. But
they hate Washington. The whole committee hates Washington.
You're saying there's a chance, though, but between all the scenarios, you just lay it out there. You're saying
they need to win out.
If Louisville loses against Houston and Ohio State, Michigan, what happens with them? One of them loses.
I think it actually could happen.
Yeah, if that happens, there's a shot.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, Washington's not even in first place, and they're in Pac-12 North.
Yeah, they're
so
not.
they need to win out.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Yeah, Washington State has that, and then Colorado obviously has
hold of the other. That's going to be a good game. Apple Cup's going to be a great game.
And I mean, this Saturday should be a good game too, with Washington State and Colorado playing each other. And then Washington they play Arizona State this week.
Yeah,
so that's probably one would assume they'll probably win that one. Would be crazy if they lost. I mean,
if they lose that game, they are done.
Well, I mean, I think there's a very decent. I don't want to say there's a good possibility they lose the Apple Cup, but I mean, this is definitely probably going to be one of the best Apple Cups in a few years,
right?
In terms of the skill of each team. So that'll be a tough one, So I mean, yeah, they really control their own destiny. They are a team that can benefit for sure by winning out, because obviously there will be a space vacated when Ohio State and Michigan play. That's just a fact, no matter what. They could be 1 and 2, and one would be 2, or 2 would be 1, and there'll be a spot there because they can't have them both. So there'll be a spot, and we'll have to see what happens there if Clemson moves into that spot, and then Louisville follows, or Washington possibly keeps winning, or whatever. We'll have to see exactly what happens, but obviously no more losing for any of these teams. And with how crazy this weekend was in terms of what happened, not much happened with this list. So unfortunately.
I got a crazy scenario for you. What if Auburn happened to upset Bama?
Then Bama would probably drop to 3.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not out of the top 4.
They're not falling out of the top 4.
I know. 4. I'm just saying. Like,
so say Bama loses, but the 2, 3, 4 win? It would be Ohio State, Bama, maybe Michigan, Clemson.
I don't think they even move them out of the number 1 spot. They probably just stay at number 1.
Yeah, they probably will. By the fact that the rest of the teams on top 4 have 1 loss, they probably wouldn't even move. But I'm saying, I think when looking at Bama's schedule, I kind of think Auburn is a legit opponent for them to upset them, because we've seen crazy games between these two teams before, and I just want to throw that out there.
They could lose. You know, Auburn right now is 15th. Yeah, they kicked 6 a few years back. No, they could absolutely lose a game, but I think even if they lose the game, they're still going to be the number 1 team.
Which is kind of what it has to say something about the other teams as well, if you think about it.
What do you mean?
Like if they happen to lose a game and still stay number 1,
people just think Alabama's the best.
Exactly. That kind of
Well, Michigan lost the game and they stayed 3.
Yeah, which I kind of am surprised in a way that they stayed at 3. I kind of felt Louisville was the team that should have entered the top 4, but
that kind of hits on what we talked about before with like Washington not being a brand kind of team or whatever. Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, all of them are.
They're like the historically like good college teams in a way.
If USC was,
we talked about that with the Pac-12 this year.
Yeah.
I get what you mean. We'll have to see how it shapes out. I mean, no more losing, and I feel like we're going to get another big surprise soon.
# no more losing.
I didn't know that was trending.
Oh, it is. Trending now. It's trending right now as we speak.
Oh my God! Well, of course, we will keep you updated on every time this list is changed, and anything along those lines. Obviously, next Tuesday afternoon night will be the day in which it happens, and of course, on Wednesday next week, we will tell you exactly what's different and what that looks like. Jeremiah, you won't be here though next week.
I will not.
So I'll have to do that without you.
I will be on vacay.
Yeah, next week, the week of Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
We will not have a show on Thursday, I believe, nor will we have one on Friday.
No,
but we would definitely have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
And I won't be here for that. I'm going to miss you guys.
Yeah, whatever. And stuff in your face.
Oh, wow. Hey, you guys are going to stuff your face, too. Don't worry.
No, I don't. I don't do that.
You don't see it? Oh, dude.
No, of course I do.
Okay.
All right, so we'll take our first break. We're going to come back, and we are going to do one of our favorite segments in the whole entire world. So do that real quick, take a break, and come right back at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, and it's time to do For Real, in which we talk about teams and or players that we think are for real or maybe not for real. So we're going to start with Mr. Anthony, and he's going to start us with a team in the AFC.
You got the Tennessee Titans.
I've heard of them.
They exist. You have a weird situation. They are an average football team at 5-5 right now, but you have Marcus Mariota, who's in his second year, slowly getting a little bit better over the last 6 games. He's got 17 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, or 4-2 in that time with losses to the Colts and the Chargers. You get DeMarco Murray, who's finally looking again like DeMarco Murray, like he did a few years back in Dallas. He's got 930 yards.
He's looking great this year.
The team, according to Pro Football Focus, they're one of the top offensive lines in the NFL, along, maybe not on the same line as the Dallas Cowboys, but a team that has a very, very good offensive line. Right now, they're second in the AFC South. The Houston Texans somehow are 6-3. I do not know how they are 6-3. Their quarterback is garbage. But you get a situation where they've beaten teams outside of the Lions. They've beaten the bad teams, or at least the bad teams at the time. The Dolphins, when the time that made them 1-4, and that was when you kind of thought everything was bad for Miami. They beat the Browns. Congratulations to you for that. You beat the Jaguars, and you beat the Packers, who are now lost 3 in a row. You got the Colts coming up, the Bears back-to-back. If they can get to 7-5, then you also have to face the Broncos. But you get the Jaguars and Texans again. So they could hypothetically finish maybe 9-7 at best, maybe 10-6, but they're looking like a lot better of a team. The offense looks good. What do you guys think? Do you think they're for real? Or
I think they look like the best team in that division offensively. During that game against the Green Bay Packers, actually not just that game, past 3 weeks, Mariota has looked like a stud.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps that he has DeMarco Murray being DeMarco Murray, and that makes everything so easier, Marcus Mariota. When you have that type of dynamic running back on your team, he's doing pretty much half the work. That makes it a lot easier. It takes the pressure off of you. And because don't get me wrong, Mariota doesn't really have a lot of weapons. I think the Walker, I don't know, Delaney Walker.
Delaney Walker, yeah, he's a good receiving tight end, but he's he's up and down.
He's good. He is a legitimate starting tight end in this league. But the other receivers they have, like Rashard Matthews and Taji Sharp,
they're coming up.
They're coming up, but they're not like stars. So technically, Mariota doesn't really have a lot of offensive weapons to work with outside of DeMarco Murray, and that's impressing me. So I do think they are a legit team. I do think they have a legit shot of winning this division because it's so weak. I just not sold on Houston Texans. I don't know. I'm just not sold on them at all.
I don't think anybody is.
Yeah, it just baffles me how they're still 6-3. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it.
Yeah,
they're doing it well.
All right, Jeremiah, your turn.
Your turn, Jeremiah.
I'm going to talk about Anthony's favorite team here, Miami Dolphins. They actually look like a legit football team, dating for 4 straight weeks. They're on a 4-game winning streak right now. They're second in the division. They're 5-4. Of course, the Patriots are 7-2. They're probably going to be in first place the entire year.
They always win the division.
But the Miami Dolphins, though, I like the way that they're playing. They have a running game. They look like they have a top running back in the league. He's playing like a top 10 right now. Dating back to that win against the Steelers, they won against the Bills, Jets, Chargers. They've all won late in those games. And that actually kind of tells me something a little bit. I know 3 of those games were at home, but how they won those games actually has impressed me because, when we look back at the Dolphins, they're not – past couple years, they haven't won those type of games late. And I think Anthony knows.
I'm aware.
Yeah. I'm not saying they're making the playoffs, but I think they kind of trending towards being for real in a way.
I don't think they make the playoffs. I mean, you got the Rams and Niners coming up, and that'll help the cause. But, I think best case scenario for them is maybe, you barely miss the playoffs at 9-7, maybe even 10-6 and miss the playoffs because you have the whole AFC West situation where you get the Chiefs and Raiders and Broncos. One of those teams one is going to win the division. The other two are probably going to make the wild card. But, yeah, I think the Dolphins can probably be a good enough team with like a 10-6 and they show improvement. Because, like I said, Rams, Niners, you get the Ravens, the Cardinals look like they stink, the Jets and Bills, they all are average teams at best. You could win, hypothetically, all of those games and then lose the end of the Patriots because, of course, you're going to lose the end of the Patriots. That's how this goes. But I think, they could be a lot better of a team. Ajayi looks like the running back of the future for the next 5 years or something like that. Ryan Tanneville's just He's fine.
He's playing a lot better.
He's playing better.
I think with a running game, it's allowing him to play
exactly.
better.
I think that's why he's playing so much better. Because that running game, we just talked about Marcus Mariota, how DeMarco Murray has helped Mariota in that Tennessee Titans offense. Dolphins have pretty good core receivers there, in my opinion. I like Jarvis Landry. I've kind of liked what I've seen from Kenny Stills.
Right.
I like what I've seen from Devontae Parker. I do think they have legitimate receivers there. So I kind of like this team in the future, trending forward. But regarding to being for real this year, I think that's kind of tough to say.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be fine. A good enough team, maybe get 10 wins and make the playoffs, kind of in that whole medium mix.
They're going to be the first team to play against Jared Goff, so I just want to throw that out there.
He's going to play against Ndamukong Suh and Cameron Wake. Have you seen Cameron Wake, what he looks like? That dude is massive. Mm-hmm. Like, Ndamukong Suh is just like a big, giant guy that scares the hell out of people. But Cameron Wake has, like, muscles on top of muscles, inside of muscles.
He's got muscles on his eyes.
He does. He has muscles on his ears. He has muscles on his jersey, which doesn't make sense. But he's just, like, all the muscles. Anyways. So, the third one.
Yeah. I have a team better than both of your guys.
Oh, wow. The shade. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm talking about the Detroit Lions.
Uh-huh.
The Detroit Lions, they have won 4 of their last 5 games. Now, they are playing well. They are currently in first place in the NFC North, and they're favored to win this division now after a 5-0 start from the Vikings. They have lost 4 straight. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, as obviously none of us really pay attention to the Lions that much. Obviously, they've won every game. They've been trailing in the fourth quarter in every single game, right? Every game they've won or lost has been within 1 score.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Colts on opening day by 4 points, right? They lose to the Titans the next week by 1 point. They lose to the Packers the following week by a touchdown. They lose to the Bears by 3 points. They beat the Eagles by 1. They beat the Rams by 3. They beat the Redskins by 3. They lose to the Texans by a touchdown. And then they beat the Vikings by 6. Every single game has been decided by 1 score.
They could have easily been undefeated.
They could be they at least have been in every single game that they have played. They play the Jaguars this week. You expect them to win with the way the Jaguars have been playing this year. Matt Stafford's playing lights out this year. He's playing very well. He's not playing amazing, but he's winning these games for them. He's keeping them in every single game. And I don't know if I've ever seen anything that impressive that they have at least been in every single game they've played. You look at teams like the Steelers and the Patriots, who have been blown out this year at times, and yet the Lions of Detroit have been in every single game. They lose to the Packers, like I said, by a touchdown. They didn't get blown out in that game. They beat the Eagles when the Eagles were still playing well. They were the first loss the Eagles suffered. They played the Vikings, who was supposed to be the best team in that division, and they beat the Vikings, and then they played them again next week.
On Thanksgiving,
yeah. So this team has just impressed me very much. I mean, they don't have great defensive players except for like Darius Slay. They have a lot of guys that are just good at what they do, not great players. And then on offense, you have a really good quarterback. Your leading rusher right now is Theo Riddick. He only has 297 yards, but we all know he's much more of a dual threat guy. Your leading receiver is your first-year receiver, Marvin Jones, there in terms of first year being there with you. Then you have Golden Tate, and you have Eric Ebron, and you have Anquan Bolden. An underrated wide receiver core. As it stands, they're 18th in the league with passing yards. They're 27th in rushing yards, but understandable with the way they run the ball. And then you look at the points for, they're 19th in the league, but they're tied for 14th with what they give up. So they're very even, and I think that has to do a lot with the way these games are ending. They're very even in terms of what they get to what they give, and we've seen that a lot with the way that these games have finished. So I think they're very impressive with what they're doing.
Yeah, they've been really impressive, and they're lucky that the Vikings are kind of falling off, because without that, they would never be anywhere near the division lead. The Packers are falling off too. So, in terms of, since we're talking about the Lions, are they like the best team in this division? I think
they're the favorite to win it now.
I think they've been the most consistent. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to have to say, yeah. I think they are for real. I think they have a legit shot of winning this division, going to the playoffs. Even though they can't run the ball, they throw the ball pretty good.
Yeah, not to mention, this team added 10 players in the draft. Yeah, not all of them stayed, but Taylor Decker obviously stayed. Ashawn Robinson from Alabama, he stayed. Miles Killebrew's on the roster.
That's one of my favorite players. My favorite name.
I know. From where? Where did you go to college?
Sordin, Utah. Big Sky, baby.
Southern Utah, yes.
Yeah.
They got Joe Dahl from Washington State in the 5th round. Like, they got good players in this draft, and so they want to. Dwayne Washington late in the year. We've seen some of him this year, other teams, but yeah, they want to continue to build this team, and they are at least looking like a team that can win some games.
Yeah, they're looking like a team that can win some games. There's I think they are probably the best team in the conference or in the division. Two problems with the Lions. One, their points for they've scored 205 points.
I was going to say that.
They've given up 206 points. So technically they're net negative as far as that goes, but you said all the close games is kind of random at that point.
Yeah, I mean, and so are the Bears by far, and so are the Packers by 11. So,
right.
And tell me about it, 205, 206. Yeah, look at their scores.
And the other one, you said they've won 4 out of their last 5. But the one, you lost to Houston. You can't lose to Houston. How do you lose to Houston?
Houston has a better defense.
I mean,
Houston's 6-2.
But
Houston clearly has beat a lot of teams this year.
They're 6-3.
But Brock Osweiler's so bad.
He is. Yes,
he's so bad.
I'm not debating on that.
He throws 90 passes for 20 yards. I don't know how that's possible.
To be fair, the Texans do have a really good defense.
They do have a good defense. They do. I'd say that, but they do have a good defense.
And in this game, Osweiler did throw at least 186 yards.
Congratulations.
At least
Stafford
187.
Yeah, he's 186. Stafford played well in that game, but Lamar Miller played well also. They got a touchdown from him, a touchdown from Lamar Miller, Osweiler, those two, and they got 2 field goals.
That 186,
with the way their defense plays, that's how you win.
That's 186 yards. That's the best he's had in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, we've talked about him before.
He's so bad.
Oh yeah, we talked about him.
But I do think the Lions are a good team. I think they probably will win their division. They just need to actually get some wins, legit wins.
So you're saying they need to get that signature win,
and that could help against Jacksonville. Yeah. Jacksonville will do that for you.
Oh,
true.
Yeah.
Jacksonville is always ready for that, being down 21 points in the fourth quarter and those garbage time touchdowns.
They're probably going to win that Jacksonville game. I'm not going to argue there. But I do think that Vikings game on Thanksgiving, if they win that game, that's probably that signature win of the season.
Probably.
Even though the Vikings
at least within the division.
Within the division, yeah.
And at least within the public, because then they'll actually see them win that game, and they're like, oh, wow, the
and
Lions.
They have some really tough games coming up, to be honest with you. They got the Saints who have played better on offense.
Yep.
So that's going to be a shootout. The Bears are probably going to win that game.
They stink.
Yeah, the Giants, that could be a fun game. But
nice.
The Week 16 against the Cowboys,
Ooh.
that one's going to be tough. The toughest team to ever play all year. Cowboys look like a legit Super Bowl contender, in my opinion. So that's a game I'm actually looking forward to. And the Packers, maybe that can be for the division. I don't know. We don't know how the Packers are going to play, but I'm just saying maybe.
Right.
Maybe. I agree with you. And I think you guys agree with me that either way, we're in for some good football.
Oh, yeah, we are.
All right. Go ahead.
We are heading towards the second half of the season. I'm ready.
Oh, we're past second half. It's week 11, bro. Second half. Technically, it goes from first half to second half, week 9.
The last 25% or 45%.
Yeah, I say
45%. There you go.
There you go. All right. Let's take our last break. We're going to come back and we're going to do wide left. I know Jeremiah has a good one. I'm sure Anthony does too. So let's take that last break. We'll be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, and it's time for Wide Left Wednesday. It is Wednesday. It is that time of the week, and it's time for Wide Left Wednesday. So what means we are going to talk about things that made us laugh, things that were funny to us, things that were like, what? We're going to do all that right now. So I'm going to start, and my wide left comes from a college football game this weekend between Iowa State and Kansas. Now, they had a trick play, a trick kick return in which you can have 2 ways of returning kicks, one guy behind the other or both of them even side to side in the end zone or wherever they deemed to set up for the kick. Now, they did this side by side, so they are about pretty much on each opposite side of the field. They have a decent space between them. The man if you're looking from the kicker's perspective, the man on the left catches the ball. He runs about 7 yards forward, stops, turns, and throws it. And everybody's like, where's he throwing the ball to? Well, turns out it was a trick play. He throws it to the man over there. No big deal. Runs it about not a significant return. He gets to about the 35-yard line at that and gets run out of bounds, right? Well, it turns out he was laying down in the end zone because the Kansas end zone is blue and red, but majority of it's blue, much like the Kansas Jayhawks uniforms are the same color blue. So the man laid down in the end zone, waiting for the ball to be caught. Everybody starts running that way. No one's really looking at him, because even from that distance, expecting to see a man laying down on the ground in the end zone playing a professional sport in which you attack each other. And he gets up, throws him the ball, and unfortunately it didn't work out quite the way they might have wanted it to, but you know what? They did get to the 35-yard line.
That was a very creative way of using the whole field.
We've seen – do you remember a couple years ago when it was a trick play where they hiked the ball and the dude just went – crossed arms and fell down. Like, he was a receiver. He just fell down.
Yeah.
And it didn't get them anything. Like, the ball went completely opposite way. The guy that was covering was like, what the – like, watched him fall down. Like, what happened to him? Kind of thing. But it was this wasn't equally as interesting, but this was definitely an interesting one. I like funny stuff like this.
Yeah, it was cool. It was just kind of a random thing, yeah.
I'm surprised Boise State hasn't tried to do it in a way.
Yeah, just on the entire field.
They got the whole field to figure out the whole blue turf.
Yeah, I think you have to be in the end zone. I don't think you can lay down in between the ones. I don't think you can lay down there. I think you have to be in the end zone because that's dead area,
Right.
So, I mean, either way, I still think the end zone's a color. What team is it? Is it Texas Tech that has that red field?
Eastern Washington.
Eastern Washington
has the red
field.
Yeah.
They should try it there.
I'm surprised they haven't. They might have.
Yeah, There's some wacky colored fields out there, man. I hate Boise State's field. I'd hate to play on a blue field.
I hate it too.
I don't know what I'd hate more, playing on a blue field or playing on a red field. I'd say probably a red field because I feel like it'd be hard to see the ball sometimes on the ground, like in a night game or something. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, it's not red, but it's closer to red than it is blue.
Yeah.
It'd be wacky.
Yeah, that's just a little too much for me. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to Jeremiah. I tricked you. I looked at you.
Yeah,
you did.
I like that. All right.
Nice.
Keep me on my toes. All right. Well, there is a reason why the Cleveland Browns are winless.
Browning.
The reason why they're winless, and we've seen it literally before the first play of the game. Okay, well, in the Thursday night game against the Ravens, not even before the first play of the game, not even before it was snapped, Browns call a timeout. Because they had 12 men on the field.
Yep.
And then later on, somewhere in the first quarter, there was two players in the back to receive the punt for the Cleveland Browns. And then they both collided against each other and caught it. They look like two outfielders out there in baseball, and I do not have any idea why they had two people in the back recovering. I have no idea what they were doing.
There's a lot of reasons why the Browns are winless. They show you every year.
This is a tweet from the SportsCenter Twitter account. They're the first team to use two timeouts in the first 5 minutes of the game since 2013. So, yeah, there's a reason why they haven't won a game, and we've seen it. Yeah. And I thought that was a little wacky. Neither of them called, when these two players were calling for the punt, neither of them called for it, obviously. First of all, why do you even have two guys back there?
Because they can.
Why? That's so dumb.
There's no reason. There's no rhyme or reason to the Cleveland Browns.
Apparently not.
They just do. They just Cleveland Brown.
They keep browning.
Anthony, your turn, sir. After your point.
Well, no, I was just saying, like, if you're Hugh Jackson, like, I feel so bad for him. I want him to do well, but at this point, you're just like, you go out there, you play, I don't care.
At this point, he's like, I'm trying to get that number 1 pick.
I mean, but we'll be there for the pick next year.
I think he will be. I think he will. They can't let go of Hugh Jackson after 1 year.
They can because, again, I told you the same thing with Goff. Say they tank and all that, and then say in the next 2 years, the Fisher and the whole crew gets fired, right?
Right.
Goff was their guy,
right?
In that sense, you bring in somebody else, maybe he's not their guy.
Yeah.
So then that's why I said that's the difference with a lot of teams that rebuild and the Browns. That has happened so many times where they bring in a quarterback or a certain mindset, and then they fire the whole coaching staff, and then that philosophy of that staff is not the same as the prior staff.
But
you have nothing to go on.
But you've seen with Jeff Fisher before, if he has a quarterback who's not his guy, he doesn't care about throwing him under the bus like with Vince Young.
Oh, he started hating Vince Young.
He hated him so much.
That's because Vince Young was kind of a prima donna.
And with Hugh Jackson, Jimmy Haslam's kind of a crazy person, the owner of the team. He got advice of what to do with Johnny Manziel from the advice of a homeless person. That's not a joke. That's an actual thing that happened.
What?
Look it up. Type in Jimmy Haslam, homeless person, Johnny Manziel. More things may pop up than you want, but that'll be one of the things.
I don't know if I want to see some of that. Okay, fine, no worries. You guys go ahead. And Anthony, it's your turn.
All right. So so my thing is about Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, I respect Tom Brady. I think he's really great. He had this commercial for Foot Locker. And, it was basically about how great Foot Locker is year after year. And, he had a couple people come in talking about, how are they keep doing this year after year? They got to be up to something. And all of a sudden, you see Tom Brady. And he's, that's an unfortunate mindset you have there. Just because something's great year after year doesn't mean that anything's going on. Why can't things just be great? And then, it just goes on, starts with questions. And then questions turn into assumptions. And assumptions turn into vacations. Basically referring to him going to Italy. That time he was suspended. Why would you punish the, week of greatness for something that never, ever happened? And he's just going on and on and on, basically just like hinting ever so slightly and sometimes not so slightly at Deflategate. One of my favorite parts in the commercial is the part where he starts saying, that's the unfortunate mindset you have there. And then one of the guys looks at him, Tom Brady. Like he just says his name really quick as if you don't know who Tom Brady is. And he's just going off and just rattling left and right. And I thought it was a really funny commercial.
My favorite part of this commercial is and assumptions turn into vacations. I just like that part. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, because you can't. Well, yeah, because you can't say assumptions turn into suspensions.
Yeah.
So he had to turn into vacations because that's basically what he did. He went
he did go on a vacation.
Yeah, he went on a vacation.
He did.
To Ibiza. And that's
that
where
was funny.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, I thought it was funny him poking fun at the NFL because Tom Brady's still in that just like anger mode of just like I'm going to get back at the whole NFL, Goodell and everybody. I hate all of you. And this is another kind of little poke at it. And I thought it was a really funny and clever kind of commercial for Foot Locker to put out there.
Okay, well, getting back to your Jimmy Haslam story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you find it?
I didn't find it.
It exists. I'm not. Yeah.
Wow, that is the most Cleveland Browns move I've ever even heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. No, I wasn't making that. I mean, it's kind of a joke too, but I put nothing outside of what they could actually do.
He told Sal Paolantonio that he did that. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, okay. Freely. It wasn't just something that came out as a leak and some homeless man was like, I got advice. No, Haslam told Paolantonio, yeah, don't tell me, the Cleveland Browns, you don't know what they'll do. No one knows what they'll do. He doesn't know what he'll do.
Wow, okay. There's a quote, well, not a quote, but on the CBS sports website, this sentence say it's also possible Haslam's so rich he actually thinks, quote unquote, no more people are homeless. So maybe.
No, he said I don't know if he's so rich that he thinks no more people are homeless. Which I thought that's kind of funny.
Yeah,
are homeless people. Either way, he says all the guy said was draft Manziel. He didn't even give him an argument. He didn't give him a reason as to why.
He just said draft.
You know what I mean? That's like somebody. That's like somebody walking up and going, Manziel 2016. Okay, what do you base that on?
Right.
You know what I mean? What is your argument? He could have said Johnny Manziel 2016. Or draft Manziel because Manziel won him a bet one time.
Right. Well, I have other questions with that. So that makes you look just insane. Number two, how is that helping out Johnny Manziel? If all this stuff, I was I thought it was a good idea. Why? A homeless person said it. No,
Are
like,
you
I don't want
kidding me?
that. I don't want that endorsement. Like that's my only endorsement as a homeless person. I can't get it from like the scouts.
You own a professional sports franchise, and you took advice from a homeless person.
He's also Jimmy Haslam was accused for a while of fraud, but he kind of got around that too.
Yes, he
Yeah,
was.
people forget about that.
I don't like Jimmy Haslam obviously, but that whole like I don't. You think just Hugh Jackson goes 0-16? I mean, the Dolphins got rid of Cam Cameron after a 1-15 season, so even though they just brought him in and they just trying to rebuild through. I think they brought in what was it? Is it Cleveland's guy or some baseball guy? They brought in like a metrics guy to run the Cleveland Browns. They could do anything. He could fire the analytics guy. He could fire Hugh Jackson.
Yeah, isn't that the guy they brought over from the Mets?
I think it's the Mets. Yeah, I think it's the Mets. So anything's possible with them. He could fire everybody, fire Robert Griffin, fire Hugh Jackson, fire the analytics guy. Just basically fire everybody.
I wouldn't be surprised if it happens, but I would hate for.
I'd feel so bad for Hugh Jackson if that happened.
I would hate for that to happen to Hugh Jackson because I think he's actually a really good coach.
He went 8-8 with the Raiders.
Exactly.
And the Raiders are trash.
That Raiders team was not nearly as good as the team.
I think that was a Carson Palmer time when they had him.
That was a Carson Palmer team. That was when they had Jason Campbell too. I think when he went down. That was when Darren McFadden.
Happened a few times.
That was when Darren McFadden was still relevant as a starting running back in the NFL. But I would feel bad for Hugh Jackson if that happens. But I wouldn't be surprised. The Cleveland Browns keep browning.
Cleveland Browns keep browning, as always. But as always, we are done for the day. We're going to go ahead and clean up and get back ready for tomorrow, of course, in which all three of us will be back. We will be discussing tomorrow's Thursday Night Football games. There was a college game as well, a game that looked to be a big game about a handful of weeks ago. Not as much now. Still big, but not as much. We will preview NFL, we will preview the college, and we have the final drive as well. And we'll talk about a quarterback that resides in California that's getting his first start of his career this weekend. So until then, we'd like to thank you guys for listening, as always, to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. I am Alex.
I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Anthony.
And we'll see you guys tomorrow. You enjoy the rest of your day, and we will talk to you then.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.